Hey guys, Danny Johnson here, and today we're going to be installing the Suncast BMS7780 modern shed. Now, something you really should do is have a foundation poured for this or have a pallet built that it can sit on perfectly. The instructions will give you a layout for that too. I did that on my other shed, which worked very well. The pieces will sit a lot more flush, and the floor will be firm and it will stand better that way. So please check the video description for my other video too, where I installed the other version of the Suncast shed, which I have loved absolutely. It's been a very good one. It's good looking. It's held up really well. So again, I'll put the link to that install in the video description. Now, the shed I'm getting today didn't have all the pieces, and that's not Suncast's fault. I got it secondhand. So I'll probably refer to my other video in some places, but it's the same process here. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and open up the manual here, and it shows a layout of all the panels. They are clearly labeled, which is really nice. So you'll want to go through and check to make sure you have all the hardware and everything before you begin. So I laid out all the panels, and each of them is labeled specifically, which is really nice. Now, when you're looking at the shed, the right-hand side refers to as you're looking at it, not like a car where it would be as you're sitting in it. So anyway, the first thing we're going to do is take our two floor panels here, and if you look on the bottom, it will have the description on there as well. So right here it says it's the front floor panel. So we're going to go ahead and set that down, and you can see that the other panel is designed to basically go right on top of it, and you'll see the little screw marks where it wants you to add the screws. So we're going to go ahead and show you that on a lot of these panels it'll have an up arrow, and then it will give you a description. Left front corner, for example, then middle, and so just pay attention to these and just lay them all out as the instructions showed, and that will help you as you're putting these pieces together. Something to mention is these panels, if they get hot in the sun, they very easily start to warp. So if you have them laid out like this in the sun, they might be better off if they're flat, but I had them laid out like this and even on a box, and they would kind of warp a little bit. Okay. So anyway, over here we have the other panels here with the doors and the header panels that go on the sides and the front. So again, if you open up the manual, it'll have a layout of these, so just make sure that you have everything before you begin. Also, please make sure that you're well hydrated, especially if you're doing this in the heat. Okay, I like to use an impact gun that has just these little bits on the front of it. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get started. We laid the floor panel together, and you can see the indentation there that we're going to go ahead and screw together. So we're just going to go and put screws in everywhere that those indentations line up. So again, on gravel, this is a little bit more difficult than if it was on flat ground where it would stay together a little bit better. So just keep that in mind. So we're going to start with the left panel, and what you'll do is set it down in the channel, and then you'll move it away from you, and that will lock it into place. It helps to have a rubber mallet to help tap it to get it to scoot. Then what we'll do is we'll fold the corner, and then we'll push it away from us to kind of bend it down, and then set it down into the next channel. So here's another view here of how it looks. As we're bringing in our next panel, you'll see that the channel has a wide area and it narrows to the left. So we're going to go ahead and put this down, and so that it's sitting down into it. This is our side panel, and we just hit it from the side with a rubber mallet, and be careful, because especially if these panels are warm, it can dent them. We're taking our hardware now. These are just these plastic screws that it comes with the tool, and it wants you to go from the top down to the bottom. So we're going to go ahead and put these in, and I like to put something behind it to help hold it up so it doesn't fall over. Okay, we're just repeating this process over and over again. So now we've put this next one down in the channel. We've come over to the side and given it a few taps with the mallet, and just got that to slide back over. And then we're just going to push this corner straight again and set it down in. So we're just working panel by panel and working our way around the shed. So you can see here, same thing. We've come around the other side. We're taking our rubber mallet, giving it a few taps, and it just slides in that channel, and you'll just kind of tap it until these gaps disappear. Okay, so we'll just take our last few panels and come around the other side. Now, this is how the gasket system works. This is different than what you have, but as far as the windows go, it will give you a gasket that you will work into the windowsill area, and as it comes around, you want it to end at the bottom so that the water would drain out. So the gasket they give you is longer than you need, so as it comes around, you'll cut the excess off and make sure you just have a little slit at the bottom. So for the windows, again, your windows look different than this. This is on the other shed, but you can see that gasket is down in here with a gap at the bottom for the water to drain out. And then the plexiglass is just screwed in. So you'll be doing the same process on the header panel and the side panels. But you just want to make sure that that gasket is down in that channel with that gap towards the bottom. Okay, so what it's going to look like on your panel is this header panel. So you'll see it has the place for the windows here, and so you'll just do that same thing, put the rubber inside of it and make sure that the gap's at the bottom. Okay, so on the same panel, there's also the top and the bottom is where we're going to add a metal channel. And so this is what those look like. It's kind of this barn door track looking one. And so if you see, it has little edges on it, and those will slide in here. So make sure that you put this in now and screw it down. Otherwise, you'll notice that there's other beams that will go in front of it. So now is the chance to put these metal bars in both the bottom of this header panel, as you see here, and also up on the top. So make sure that you screw those in. Otherwise, you're going to have to go back later and put them in. There's also a metal bracket that goes between these two, as you can see. And so this is what it shows in the manual as CC is the bracket. So see how there's one that goes vertical between those two. So I didn't have that bracket at the time either. So just make sure you put the CC bracket between those two metal ones on that front header. So now with the windows and that metal track installed, which you don't see here, make sure that you have installed it. We're going to slide this into the front of the shed. So you can see you just have this piece that goes down, and then we're going to put our screws in. So we went ahead and fastened our screws in here, and now we have another one of these tracks that we're going to be doing along the back. So as you can see, I found these pieces later, but you should be putting yours in now before the roof and the other pieces go on. There is also a bracket Z that needs to go on right now, as you can see in these instructions. And so that's going to go right in the center of that back channel piece. So the rear header panel, H, we're going to go ahead and put in. And so it slides down too, and it should have that metal track in now. So make sure that you did that. Then we're going to go ahead and put our screws in that keep that panel attached to the back of the shed. Okay, next we have our side windows, and again, you should do the plexiglass and the trim on these ones, which I didn't have, but I'll do later. But then it just lines up on the sides here, and as you can see, it slides down into these notches. So make sure that it's going into all of these evenly as you put it down. And you can see at the very front it had the gaps that it goes down into as well. And this was helpful to take the rubber mallet and just give it a few taps to have it seat down into place. Okay, now we're going to just repeat the same thing on the other side. And again, make sure your plexiglass has been screwed in with the rubber gasket. And we're just going through and tapping this one down into place so that it sits down in the channels. So now we've just gone around and made sure to put screws everywhere that there is a place for them that's connecting the walls to these top header panels. And next we're going to bring in our metal tracks that will go on the sides. And so this one, there's actually 4 of them that are the same size, and then there's 2 more that are really long. So the smaller ones go on the front and the back. And as you see when you line this up, of course it should be going to the metal track right now. But you're lining it up one hole kind of down like that. So again, the longest ones will slide in from the sides here. They're your 2 longer ones. They'll slide down in, and they go to they need to go, you know, underneath these little grooves for them to slide down. So again, you have two of the smaller ones on the front. You have the longest ones that go all the way to the floor on the sides, and then you have you know, the two other smaller ones here. And so as you can see, this is where it screws in. Of course, the other metal beams going through there, but it's almost off by one screw is what it looks like on both of these. So see how the screw looks there. Next, we're bringing in our side track panel, and this is where you're going to put the bolts in from the sides. So refer to the manual here. I didn't have the hardware, so I'm using nuts and bolts that I have, but that will attach this from the sides. Now from the back to the front, it'll have bolts as well that will go in the sides. So just run your side ones from the back to the front and put some bolts in there. So if you look at the roof panels, they're flat on the very front of them, and then the lines go down. So the flat part is towards the very front. And you want to start with this side here, the right-hand side as it would be called, and put that panel on first, because you notice as you put the next panel on, it sits down on top of it. So as you can see, these also have a little notch that's coming from the header panel that the roof will slide into on both sides. And so you see these little nubs here that stick up, and they're going to slide down into the channel. So just slide those roof panels into place, as you'll see here again. Put it into the bigger area, and then as you tap it this way, it will lock it into place. So along the back, you'll see the roof panel here meets the wall, and so you're going to have to basically push the roof panel behind it, and then we screw it into all of these everywhere that we go around. So that's how the roof panel is screwed in from the back there. So again, here's the front of the panel. Just make sure that it's sliding into place. I found it helpful to use the rubber mallet and give it a few taps towards the front. So just remember, we're doing the right-hand side one first, now the left-hand side one. You just want to make sure everything locks into place. And I put some weight on the roof, which really helped, because now we're going inside the shed. And as you can see, we want the inside of the shed to screw into the roof. Now we're just going around on all of the panels that touch the roof and screwing the screws into the roof to hold the roof down. So make sure all the brackets are right. Again, refer to the owner's manual, because mine was missing a few pieces. And so this is as good as I was able to get it attached here. And at this point, it really helps to have somebody on the outside of the shed pushing one way so that you can get the tabs lined up for the roof, and just make sure you screw it in everywhere that there's a place for it. Next, there are some latches for the door. This is very simple. You just line them up this way and put them in. And we just screwed all four of those ones in. And then you're going to do the same thing on the same door on the bottom, and it's going to go the opposite way. So as you can see, this is what the top one looks like. Here's what it's going to look like on the bottom facing down. I did just flip the door upside down to get a better handle on it, and did the same thing. Just make sure that it's pointed going this way for that. And so what we're going to do is put these hinges on. So this is what they look like with this bracket. And so you're going to slide this bracket from the bottom, and you're going to slide it up, and as soon as it goes up, then you're going to twist it in. Okay, now the hinge is on, and we're going to repeat that on every place that has it for both doors. There's a total of 6 of them. So again, we're just going to line this up, going to slide it up, and then pull it out. And that will keep it in place. But that's all that you have to do for the hinges. Luckily, it's pretty simple. So basically, we're going to snap this hinge into place right here on all of each of these, and then we're going to put the bolts through. So it's pretty simple. Here's what it looks like. Just line it up and push it in until it clicks. Just make sure that it's flush. So this uses the 7/16 for the nut, and then it's a cross point or Phillips screw for the front of it. And so just so you're aware, the bolt and the nut don't actually go through a hole. It's like a little horseshoe. And as you can see here, we need to push in a little bit more on these. They might look like they're in, but just give them a nice push until they're really lock into place. Then put your hardware through there. Next, we're going to work with the latch system. So as you can see the cutouts here, this is what it looks like for the two pieces. The solid piece will go on this side, and the little horseshoe type latch here will go on this side over here. It says that these holes are pre-drilled, and they kind of are. On mine, I still needed to kind of hollow them out a little bit. But this is the hardware package that you're going to use, 0480439A. And so again, you might have to go through with a drill like I did, and just hollow these out, make sure that they're all the way through. There wasn't much plastic left in there, but it said that they were pre-drilled holes. And so anyway, if you look at the hardware here, it has a little square on the inner side, and that's going to lock it in place. And so as we put this one in here, then you can just tighten down the nut on the back side, and it holds it for you. Also, there's a washer on the back that we're going to put, and then our locking little nut there. For the top one, you might want to try putting the top bolt in before you mount it. I was able to get it in, but I kind of had to slide it past here. So as you can see, it kind of was a tight fit. That bar's in the way, and I was able to pound it through there. But you might want to do that one first. But anyway, then we're going to put our washer and then the nice locking nut behind it. Okay, so it's the same process for this other flat piece. Just put the two bolts in, and then the washers, and then tighten them down. Just don't go too tight, especially if you have an impact gun. You can crunch it pretty good. Next, we're going to move on to the door handles. Very simple. Here's the hardware, 0480505, so find that one. And all you do is put the handle on the front here like this, and the screw is going to come through to tighten that all down. So basically this just lines up in the two holes like this, and it will pretty well stay in place as you put it there if you're careful. But now we're going to take our screws. There's one long screw that goes down the very center that goes into the back side of the handle. And so we're going to start with that one first. So just make sure it's going through the washers. You need the washer in place. But what I did is I poked the screw out, and then I started to thread it into the back side of that handle. Once it was lined up, I just drove it in, and went in pretty good. And so then after that, there's two more screws, and they're the smaller ones. So just do the washer with the small screw, and we're just going to do one on the bottom and then on the top. So just make sure that they are screwing into the handle assembly. So thanks for bearing with me. I had to show some parts from the other shed install, but it was from the same manufacturer and basically the same thing. But anyway, check the video description for other videos that are similar to this, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.